Hello everybody, my name is Raj and welcome to another EMS episode. Alright, so let's review all the equipment that I take to work on a daily basis when I go to volunteer. So let's start off with what I carry on my persons, followed by my medical bag, and lastly this kit, which will be mentioned last because there's very little items here. So let's get started. Okay, so let's go through what I carry on my persons. So first of all would be this clipboard. So the front piece of paper is all the medical terminologies that I would need to write a report, and the paper behind it and the rest would be patient reports. So this is basically where I write down the patient's vitals, patient's status before we arrive, during the treatment and after in the hospital. And this would also state their GCS level, which is their response, and also what zone they have been triaged to. For example, green zone, yellow zone, red zone, resus and non-resus. Moving on is my pen light. So the most obvious reason why I would need a pen light is for night shifts, and this allows me to work in the dark, and this also allows me to look for anything in an ambulance if the surroundings is dark. Another reason why I would need a pen light is to check for pupil dilation. So pupil dilation is important as a medic because this can, with pupil dilation, you can evaluate whether the person's nervous system is functioning properly or not. So if I were to shine this into a patient's eyes, their pupils should constrict. However, if it does not constrict or it becomes fixed dilated, then that patient would have a serious problem and needs medical help as soon as possible. Next would be trauma shears, disposable trauma shears to be exact. So this basically allows me to cut through any piece of clothing to access the body. So let's say I need to put AED pads on a patient's chest and they're wearing clothes. I will use this to cut open the shirt, as this allows me ease access to their shirt, to their chest. Moving on is the pens that I carry on my person. So these pens are important because I have to write almost everything down. So to write a report, I would need a pen. To write on my glove, just in case I don't have my notebook, I can always use the pen. And apart from the pens, I would also have my wallet and my phone as my equipment that I carry on my persons. So let's move on to my medical bag. So as you can see on the side here, if I can open it up. So on the side here, this is basically the collar. So this collar is basically placed around a patient's neck. So let's say the patient is involved in a motor vehicle accident or has fallen down some stairs. So as a medic, we are trained to assume there will be spinal injury. So this prevents the neck to move left, right, up and down. This is so that the patient would lay in a straight position. So this would go something like that, roughly. Yeah, so you would adjust it and it goes around the patient's neck like so. Alright, so let's start from the front compartment. So over here, so this compartment here is basically detachable from the bag itself. So this is basically what I carry off duty also. So this has basic treatment equipment. If I can take this out, 1 second. Alright, so this basically has the patch to state that the inside is medical equipment and only medical equipment. So in the front compartment over here, we have another disposable trauma shears and tweezers, and inside here we have plasters and alcohol pads. Alright, and then the frontmost outer zipper, we have gloves. latex gloves. So this allows me to have protection whenever I need it. The following compartment, we have medicated oil, eye drops, burn cream, counter pain, and bandages. So this is what I have. So basically this is to help patients who are nauseated or who have stomach pain, and burn cream for burn patients. The next compartment is another bandage, gauze padding, and triangular bandage with pins. And that is basically what I have for here. Okay, so let's just put this aside. Okay, so let's start with the bag. So let's start with the most outer compartment, followed by the top compartment, the third, and then the backmost compartment, which has the most items. So the first compartment here, let me just unclip it. The first compartment here, I have, so you can see it is quite full. So we have syringes. So this syringes is used to administer medication, or let's say the patient needs to be fed liquid food or semi-solid. This would be easier for us to feed the patient. So we have syringes of different sizes, and then we have needles. So these needles we normally use it for to inject medications, or to just remove something from the underlayer of the skin. So this helps us with that. And I have a Dettol solution which expires in 2021, and I also have bags. Sorry, not bags, these are gowns, medical gowns. So just in case the patient is bleeding heavily, or is vomiting, or has an infectious disease such as corona or tuberculosis, this will protect my lower body if the patient does spit or cough at me. Alright, so now moving on to this upper compartment here. So over here we have a few more of medications. So first we have counter pain. It's also a muscle relaxant and relieves muscle aches. Dettol cream, just in case some patients are afraid of using liquid Dettol, we have a alternative, and both do not hurt when applied to an open wound. Next we have gloves, natural gloves, more alcohol pads, we call it earbuds. So this allows us to spread cream on the patient. And we also have a medical patch here. Alright, now for the second last compartment. So this would have the important and essential items. So first off would be my glucometer. So this has my blood glucose meter, my dextrose strips, my lancets, and the lancet injector. So this allows me to check a patient's glucose level and to determine whether that patient is hyperglycemic or hypoglycemic. I would also have my BP machine over here to check a patient's blood pressure, but it's not in my bag right now. And also a stethoscope. So this stethoscope is fairly cheap, and it's not a Littmann or anything, but it does serves its purpose, because this allows me to osculate the lungs of a patient. So This allows me to understand if the patient has any COPD or any problem with the lungs. So I could identify crackles, wheezing, or just normal respiratory breathing. So that's for that compartment. Alright, now for the major compartment where most of my equipment is. It's quite a big one, so this is basically the holy grail of the bag. So on top here I have face masks, surgical masks, more gloves, because as a medic, from experience, you can't live with one pair of gloves. You gotta have more than one pair, because you won't know how many calls you're going to get and you don't know how dirty it's going to become, so the more the gloves the better. I also have a wooden splint for wrists or finger or hand dislocations or sprains. I also have heat spray. This is skin anesthesia, so basically let's say a patient needs to be transported from a wheelchair to the gurney and their elbow hurts due to a previous fracture or dislocation. I would spray a bit so that the area will be numb and the patient will not feel much pain. I'll have surgical tape, 2 surgical tapes, roller bandages of different sizes, elastic bandages of different sizes, triangular bandages. I have, I think, about 4 or 5 of them. Gauze of different sizes. I also have Hydrocil. This is a medication that I can give for indigestion. So indigestion and a patient who has a gastritis, which is basically gastric. More bandages, more gauze. I also have a dressing here that allows me to put on areas that had wounds that are found on joints. So this plaster can be bent, so it allows mobility to the area and stopping the bleed at the same time. So yeah, and just put this back. And yeah, basically that's most of my items. And at the back of this bag there is a clipboard. So that clipboard is basically acts as a back support, so the bag doesn't collapse and it remains upright. So that's it for the main bag. Alright, now lastly is this kit. So I've reused my old first aid kit to put in two equipment here. It's basically, it's very little. So basically what I have in here are oxygen delivering face masks. So I have 1 simple face mask and 1 high flow mask. So basically, so let me just get out the simple face mask. So basically this is the face mask itself to place over a patient, and this is the this is the delivery tube of oxygen. So this would be tightened into here like so, and this will be plugged into the oxygen delivery unit inside the ambulance. And just to note, everything that is used by the patient, masks, stethoscope, BP machines, are all sanitized before shift and after every call. This is to ensure that there is no cross-contamination and no infections to the patient, and this allows us to be safe and the patient to be safe at all times. So before I go to shift, this mask will be cleaned thoroughly with antiseptic and alcohol swabs. So this is basically my basic kit that I carry to work. This is basically what I take to work every time. So if you have any questions for me, do leave it in the description box in the comments below, and I hope you like the video. Enjoy!